Welcome back to season 2 of the Office Latte podcast. Boy, do we have a good season in store for you. We are going to be talking to an imposter syndrome coach, somebody who teaches you how to be a fractional COO. You're going to learn about personal branding on LinkedIn, how to use LinkedIn, helping women in their 40s discover what they want to do after their kids leave, a DNA fat loss coach, and so much more. So grab your cup of coffee, have a seat, and listen in. Hi, Summer.
Hi, Erin. How's it going?
It is going great. It is going great. I'm just going to dive right in. I'm excited because we're talking to somebody today that I was so excited to meet because she's a female. She's a female financial coach / consultant, and her background's in STEM. So, she's, got that engineering mind, but she ended up in finances. And the reason I like this so much is because, and I know you and I have talked about this, is when you're at the stage or some point where you think, yeah, I want to start investing, I want to start saving for retirement, because trust me, it comes up before you know it. But like for me, I didn't know where to begin. And with Sandra, her name is Sandra Park, she tells you the steps, tells you what to do. So that's why I wanted to get her on here, because I thought, you know what, there are more than just people like me, who didn't know where to begin. So, anyways, I'm excited to talk to her, but I mean, I don't want to give too much away because I want the listeners to discover her too. But really, she's all about empowering women. And like she was saying so many times, or like I've read in her posts, so many times, women rely on the men in their lives, their brothers, their husbands, their father, their, whatever, there's somebody they work with, and kind of leave those decisions up to them or up to someone else, and it's good to just take this, it's not as scary as you'd think is, what I know what I even felt or thought when I was, kind of dipping my toes into, investing and excuse me, planning for someday retiring, So anyways, I would love to have, financial coaches and guests on, every 4 episodes, just because I think they're so helpful and people, are interested in this. So,
I'm really excited. I think this is a great episode for everyone. And I love that she has a great background in understanding how self-employed small business owners or company owners, how to help them with their finances, but then also just how to help your average W-2 employee and how to also make a lot of money. And I love that she talked about that, even though I'm not in that, like, I just love that she was like, you make a lot of money over time when you learn how to really budget and save and invest with just a regular job, because so many people feel like they're limited with just having a 9-to-5, that they can never be a millionaire or a multimillionaire with, quote unquote, just a job. But it's like, no, you can. You're working hard.
She did it. She is a millionaire, a multimillionaire from her corporate job. I mean, just from her, like she said, this is just from a W-2 job. So if she did it as a single mom, anybody can do it. Let me read you her bio. Sandra Park is a systems engineer, financial coach, speaker, and a podcast host. She founded Prosperous Panda and the Engineer Her Path podcast to help women in STEM take control of their finances and create lives of freedom and purpose. With over 2 decades of engineering leadership experience, Sandra brings a unique problem-solving lens to financial coaching. She guides her clients through budgeting, debt payoff, investing, and building long-term financial confidence, always with empathy and encouragement at the core. Along her own journey, she has become completely debt-free, including paying off her mortgage in just 41 months. She's also a proud member of the Society of Women Engineers and a frequent speaker where she inspires professionals to see that money is not a source of stress, but is a tool to engineer the life they want. And one thing I just want to say, this isn't just for women in STEM. This is for anybody, male or female, regardless of your profession. So I don't know. I just find her so inspiring and so interesting and empowering. And I don't know, I'm ready to dive into it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Hello, Sandra. I am so happy to have you here today. I've been excited to talk to you, for the last few weeks. I am so glad that you accepted my invitation to be on my podcast.
Yes, yes. I'm so glad that we've virtually been acquainted through LinkedIn and you asked me to be on your podcast, and I'm honored to be a guest here today.
Good, good. So Summer and I touched on kind of what you do before the podcast, before you and I sat down to talk. So you are a financial advisor. And so let's talk a little bit about, or financial coach, I should say.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about how you got started here. So I know, I read some of your bio beforehand, but I want to hear from you about, how did you end up here? I mean, starting as a systems engineer and really working in STEM, and so tell us, how did you end up here? And then I want to dive into what you do.
Yeah. So I have that one side of me where I've been a engineer almost my entire life. I did the traditional. I went to college for 4 years and I studied electrical engineering. And then I've been in the aerospace defense sector for over 20 years now.
Cool.
But like many high-paying, ambitious women, there was a time when I was struggling paycheck to paycheck. I was working a lot and realizing a lot of it wasn't really paying off for me. I was climbing that corporate ladder and working a whole lot, but then wondering how I was still so broke at the end of each month.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
and it was crazy.
I'm
And
sure so many people relate to that. Like,
yeah.
I make a good living. How come I am struggling?
Yeah, and this was even when I got to the elusive six figures, because I used to have this idea that once I made it to over six figures, like everything would be fixed and solved, and
Right.
no, and I was still struggling paycheck to paycheck and feeling broke at the end of each month, and I wasn't really going into debt necessarily, but it was just I was making money and just spending all of it, and then making more money and just spending all of it, and I just got to a point where I was thinking, there has to be something better out there in life, and this isn't the right way to live. So I started on my own personal finance journey back in 2016. After I'd been an engineer for a little over 10 years, I hit that six-figure mark, and I did get a bit burnt out, and I was kind of just, learning a lot about corporate life and wising up to, companies are not always looking out for you all the time.
Right.
We really have to look out for ourselves. And I also realized I was getting a lot of financial advice and learning a lot about finances from the people around me and not really empowering myself to learn very much about it. So through either boyfriends, family, male coworkers, and not really taking the initiative where I knew what to do with my money. So 2016 was that huge inflection turning point. I had left the company I had been at since I had graduated from college. I'd been there over a decade, and for people that have never had that experience, it's a bit like a breakup. It's sometimes like the longest relationship you've had in your life. I started there in my young 20s with all my college friends, and my life kind of revolved around work and that company and all that. So it was that huge life-changing moment where I was leaving that company, going to be without some income for a while, and I realized during this time period, I should take the time to learn more about finances and money and learn how to manage it myself. And ever since then, I've been on my own personal finance journey, and I think it's improved every part of my life, from career, finances, relationships.
And just taking control of it.
Yes, yes,
is
exactly.
such a huge thing. Yeah.
And that's
So you
how I
said,
do it.
sorry, Sandra,
go
but
ahead.
you said you had taken Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace
Yes.
University class. It's funny because this summer, I was on a road trip and I was with my sister, and I happened to be clicking on, I don't know, Sirius XM, and I saw he had a channel. So we started listening to it, and I didn't really know much about him other than the kind of the general, information about him being a financial guru type person. But
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I love his channel with the stories, people calling in, and it's talk about learning. I mean, even just learning, because I always say, I learn from other people's stories. I really do.
Yeah.
I love hearing stories, and that's part of why I want to do a podcast. But anyways, so yeah, I want to touch on that too. I know you said that was a starting point, and you said fast forward to now you're a debt-free millionaire.
Yeah, my house paid off. Actually, a multimillionaire as of the end
A
of last year.
multimillionaire. Is everybody listening?
Yeah, and I just
As
always
a
emphasize to
single
people,
mom.
I did it as a single mom on a single income and as a W-2 employee, because even though I have a business now, that came very late into the picture and honestly has not contributed very much to my net worth. So
Yeah.
you can do it as a W-2 employee, you can do it as a single mother. But yeah, same like you, when I came across the Dave Ramsey stuff, for some reason, it just made so much sense to me what he said, right? It's so plain and
Yes.
simple, and it's about focus, and he's not
Yeah.
telling you to do 5 different things at the same time. It's do this one thing at a time, and that's what I think resonated so much with me, because I certainly knew a lot of personal finance advice and information out there, but I was trying to do a lot of it all at once, and I wasn't making very much progress in anything. And I think it's when you have this systematic plan and you focus on something one at a time that it really started making a lot of sense, and the numbers started changing, and I started realizing, oh, this stuff really does work. You just have to do it and apply it and focus.
Oh, yeah, I need to, it sounds like a class I need to take. Do they have like a section on spenders? And people who love to shop. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I need to take. But anyways, okay. So I love this, and I especially love, for the women listeners out there, that it is possible to do on one income as a female. You know what I mean? Just
Yeah.
all of these
And as
things.
an employee, I
Yeah,
think a lot of
as
people
an
think you
employee.
have to start a business or a side business. And it certainly enabled me where I could start a business on the side and run a business. But I didn't generate a lot of wealth from it. Well, not yet, but that came much later in the picture. So
Not yet,
yes.
girl. Yeah,
Yeah.
not yet. So let's start with your personal finance journey. So you paid off your home, you became debt free. I mean, what were the biggest mindset shifts that you needed to get there? I mean, so what were the first things that you did? And again, I'm thinking of listeners, like if they're like, oh my gosh, how did she do this? So what was your mindset?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, because it sounds easy, but it was quite the
Right, right.
journey, and there's a bazillion different decisions you have to make every day to really be on that path. Really, one of the first things, like you mentioned it, I took that Financial Peace University. It's a 9-week class. And I'll say it's not that you can fix your finances in 9 weeks, but it's the Kickstarter. It plants some seeds in your brain when you take a class like that, right?
Right.
That's why I call it a journey. Nobody's
Yeah, I like
finances
that.
are fixed in weeks or months at a time. So in that class, I learned about budgeting, and that's when I really started actually doing the budgeting. I think a lot of people know it as a concept. They know it's probably good for them to do,
Right.
but it's when you actually do it and you put it into practice. And I also say it's about doing it consistently, because it's not about just you do a budget one time and now all your finances are fixed. I remember when I took that class, that's what I thought. I made
Right.
the budget in the class. And, I put the plan on paper and I was like, whoa, like nothing feels different. Nothing has improved
Okay,
or
right.
changed.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
realized it was through the tracking of my spending and aligning my finances with that plan on paper, that budget that I made, course correcting, consistently doing that budget month after month after month. So it's not just like one time you do it and all your finances transform.
Right.
So
It's
it's making those
staying
intentional
consistent.
decisions. Yeah, it's a
Okay.
plan for your money. That's all it is. So it's not telling you what to spend or how to spend your money. It's more about, it's a check-in so you can decide how you want to spend your money rather than anything else, right? And I think people have to start reframing a budget as restrictive and you can't spend money.
Right. And it seems just like a lot of work, like writing down. I mean, I know I have done that in the past where I'm writing down everything I'm spending, and it's just a lot of work, I've known people who will do this on a Sunday, or they write down every single, they do all this stuff. And I'm like, It's for me, I guess it just feels like one more thing. So, and I'm
Oh,
thinking maybe other people feel that way too. It's like one more thing I have to do, and not one
oh,
more thing I
yes.
have to do, and just keep track of
Yes.
or whatever, manage.
Yeah.
So, did you have like a different way that you did it that was maybe easier or
Yeah,
less?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll talk about that because it is a
Yeah. Yeah.
huge mindset shift to something that you think is optional and tedious and, frankly,
Right.
eating up part of your weekend or morning,
Right.
right, doing this. And
Yeah.
everyone's not a big fan of this. I check my budget almost every single day. I use an
Hmm.
app now that
Oh,
does the magic of categorizing transactions
can you
once you
share
set
the
out a
app
budget. Oh,
with our
sure. It's
listeners?
called Monarch. Yeah, so Monarch is
Monarch.
an excellent digital app that
Okay.
you can use. And I didn't really start out using Monarch. I used a more manual app that's called Every Dollar. Every Dollar has a free version.
Okay.
So you manually track your transactions, and then there's a premium version where it will bring in all your transactions, but you'll still have to categorize them.
Yeah.
But I always tell people you have to do what works for you, right?
Yeah.
So what works for you, and honestly, for most people in the beginning, they probably should do the more manual methods because it's more about reinforcing that habit, looking at your bank account, looking at your transactions, seeing how you're spending your money, seeing how your money aligns with your budget. But it's same like I know this is weird. I didn't grow up flossing. And I got to a point when the dentist was like, "Yeah, you really should floss every." He's like, "These appointments would be so much more painless for you, and they'd be so much
Right.
quicker, and we don't have to have
Right.
like a 2 hour long cleaning if you just spent the 1 minute to floss your teeth every
Just the
day."
one. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
One of my dentists said, floss the teeth you want to save.
Oh,
And
I
I was
like
like,
that. I like that.
I know. I was like, okay, I want all my teeth.
And then it's kind of
I
scary
show
because
my
it's
kids that.
daunting and it's so funny. So I've switched from where I literally never flossed a day in my life to where I
Yeah.
floss twice a day now. And
Right.
it's almost like I can't go to sleep if I haven't flossed my teeth, right?
Right.
And
Very
I
important.
kind
Yeah.
of give that metaphor for budgeting that I hope that one day it becomes so easy and painless that people feel like, oh, something feels off or wrong. I haven't checked in with my budget. But the more you do it, the
I love
easier it
that.
gets,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
swear. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Where
It
it
makes
takes like
sense.
5 minutes a day.
Yeah. Like anything, the more you do it,
Yeah.
um, I track my protein and my calories. I
Oh
can
yeah,
definitely track
that's a
this.
good example. If you're already tracking calories
Yeah, it's
and
just a
protein
habit
and
to
things.
get into. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I love
Yeah.
that. All right. So when you coach women,
Yeah.
what are the top three recurring mindset barriers that you help them break through?
Oh, well, I think the ones that I think are the top three, especially ones that I can relate to, is that one I mentioned before was kind of always relying upon, I wouldn't say always like a husband, just a male figure in their life
Right.
for a lot of their financial advice. So they're kind of offloading knowing anything about their finances or how to manage their money to, you know, these male coworkers telling them to invest in their 401k or their brother,
Right.
managing
Right.
their investments or asking their dad or a boyfriend or a husband. So kind of like taking the power back where it's like, no,
Taking it
you,
back. Yes.
yes, yeah. And I'm not saying like you can't partner
Right. Right.
with a man. Yeah.
But being, I mean, this, I know it feels very old school though. I mean, I still know people who don't know what's happening in their finances.
Yeah.
Women. I'm like, you need to know this. You need to know this.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can
Yeah.
do it together. You can, figure it out together. You just should have an idea of what's happening. Yeah.
Yes, having enough information where you can ask those discerning questions.
Hmm.
And if you are in a relationship, being more like an equal partner in those finances where you're also consulting in on financial decisions, you have some say so, you kind of know what the bills are and when they're getting paid and
Right. Right.
keeping an
Right.
eye on investments and
Yeah.
how everything's going. So yeah, offloading that financial management to some type of male figure.
Right.
I think just also people saying they're not very good with money. I mean, I definitely think people of both genders can say that, but I think there's more of a notion that women are worse at math or we're not good investors. We're actually really good at investing compared to
Yeah,
men
I was
because we
going to say
leave it
you are
alone
an
more.
engineer, so you do
Yeah.
have a little bit of a head up to somebody like me who numbers isn't my
Yeah.
favorite thing. I am more of a word and reading girl, but yeah, I mean, because I do have a lot of friends too. They're like numbers aren't my thing, math isn't my thing, but it doesn't take. You don't
Yeah,
have
it
to
is not
be.
the most complicated
Yeah,
mathematics,
it's
and it's
not. It's
more the
not.
behavior, and there's calculators and all that stuff out there.
Right.
So
Make it
there
easy
it's
on us.
not.
And yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I think the other big thing is sometimes just people being afraid of investing and this fear of what they don't know.
Yeah.
Um, ah, okay.
Yeah, that's
I'm sorry. I thought
true.
of a third one that might be better.
No, I think that was the third. I think that was the
Okay,
third one. Yeah.
if you like that's a good one. Okay. Okay.
It is,
Yeah.
and that is that
Yeah.
is that is true. That is such a fear too, because or not, or just like I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where to start. I know
Yes.
I was
Yes.
like that until I started.
Yes, and I think you made a
Yeah.
good point because what people do is they have this paralysis analysis, so they don't
Yes.
start. And I always tell people this too. If you just start, you'll learn much more by actually going through it. Even if maybe you do lose some money in the beginning, of course you can invest in small amounts first and kind of see, right?
Sure.
And
Yeah.
understand your behavior and how to invest. But it's one of those things where it's a catch-22. People feel like they need to learn more. I guess it's the same like how women tend to not apply for certain jobs because they're like, I don't match 100% of
Right.
the job
Right.
description. It's like, no, just start or
Try it anyways. Yeah.
apply
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah.
So what's a financial habit that women and frankly anyone underestimate that you believe is a game changer?
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go back to I really think it's budgeting.
I was just gonna say
Yeah.
budgeting. Yeah, I was just gonna say
Because
that
it's
budgeting.
number
Yeah.
one foundational skill for anybody, everybody, and you really never outgrow the need to know how you're spending your money, having a plan for your money no matter what. I still budget to this day. I don't think I'm ever going to outgrow the need to budget.
Right.
So it's just so odd that people don't want to take this look back on what they're spending. And it's just information. It's just information and data, and it's nothing to be scared of. And the best thing is when you can look at it and it informs your future behavior, right? And you can use it to make better and wiser decisions instead of beating yourself up over how maybe you've spent the past month or two.
Right.
You can use it to course correct. And I wish more people would see it as that instead of being scared at what their spending looked like or how they feel they might have messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, people love tangible wins. What's one financial milestone that you've helped a client achieve that still gives you goosebumps?
Oh, I think this is another big mindset shift. I see a lot of people putting vacations on debt. Even if they're budgeting diligently, for some reason they can justify putting the vacations on credit cards, right? And not
But isn't
saving
that
up the
how
money in
most
advance.
are? Well, I guess you can do debit, right?
Yeah, yeah, or
Yeah.
saving up for it, right?
No,
And
but you have to if you're doing the vacation online, you have to give it a credit card. But you're saying they just go into debt without any
yeah,
backup
no
savings. Oh,
plan, no
okay. Okay.
nothing. Something came up, girls'
Okay.
trip. I got invited to a thing.
Oh, okay.
I don't have the money, so I'm going to put the entire thing on a credit card,
Okay.
right? And just they have no plan for how to pay this off or anything. So yeah, I remember a client coming back from vacation and she was telling me because I was coaching her through it before she went on the vacation about how you could divert some money to savings for a tiny little bit and it would cover this whatever 2K out of pocket she needed to go on this vacation. And that huge shift where she realized you don't have to charge the whole vacation on a credit card. She came back and was able to, enjoy the vacation, not have the lingering payments, and realizing there's a different way to vacation, that you can save for it, you can plan for it, even if it's only a month or two out. Sometimes it's only 2 or 3 paychecks where you can, pull some money out and have this nice cushion where you can vacation debt free. And yeah, I remember
I
that was a
love
huge
that.
win. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So somebody who is, let's say 40,
Yes.
and they come to you and they say, where do I begin? I have nothing. I don't even have a 401k. I'm trying to do the biggest challenging case scenario. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have a 401k. We've been struggling, and but I want to start putting some money aside. Is it too late for somebody in their 40s or somebody in their 50s to begin?
Oh, no, it's never too late. It's never too late. And wouldn't it be nice to go into retirement with a 100K, 200K nest egg rather than nothing? And I do
Absolutely.
find that scenario come up quite a bit, especially sometimes business owners potentially, because
Yeah.
they may have not had a traditional 401K, they may have not worked in corporate America, or
Yeah.
honestly,
That's me.
okay.
Not a
Yeah, or
traditional.
regular employees just
Yeah.
withdrawing from their 401K a lot, right? They kind of see it
Right.
as a piggy bank, and then they've had that behavior to buy houses or whatever
Yeah.
and buy other things, and then they realize there's not very much in there, and they're in that decade where they're a couple of decades away from retirement, but there's still a lot of hope for them.
Right.
That tends to be the age group that I get a lot because they're closer to my age, so it's that age group. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, what's the first thing that you tell them to do? Or maybe it's just reassuring them, no, you're not too old. It's good to
Yeah, first
start
of all,
right now, today. Yeah.
yeah, helping them with that mindset, like it's not, hopeless, that there's still hope for you, that you can still do a lot of good behaviors for the next 2 decades or so. People are actually working longer than ever, so who knows? They could work longer than 2 decades, but they need to get on a plan and be strategic. But first
Right.
thing is understanding their spending, understanding what is their monthly income versus their monthly outgo, so that budgeting, and then any margin that's left, right, throwing it at where they can maybe start investing.
Right.
If they could throw $300 a month, $500 a month into investments, and that could grow for 20, 25 years, that's still not a bad plan. And
Right.
starting wherever they can and is better than nothing. They still have some
Mm-hmm.
time on their side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And I was going to say, I always see this one thing. It comes up repeatedly in my social media from Dave Ramsey. And it was like, if you start at 20 or 21 or something and you invest $100 a month, by the age 65, you'll have 1.1 million or something like that.
Yeah, it's
I've
insane.
seen it
Yeah.
a bunch of times. Yeah. Okay. So that's really interesting, and something that you had said, about, your monthly bills and figuring out what you can put in after. When I sat down with my advisor, I don't know, years ago, and he was like, okay, so how much do you think you're going to need when you retire? And I was like, I don't know. I'm not even close to that. What am I going to need? And so I'm going through like bills and kids and cars and college and all this stuff. And he's like, well, Erin, that's going to be way after. You have to think about, when it's just you two. And it was like a whole weight had lifted, because I was thinking, because your bills are different once your kids are gone,
Yes.
and, you have that much less. I think I know a couple of my friends too, had said, oh yeah, I totally forgot that at that point when I retire, there's not going to be kids at home. There's not going to be all those extra things that we need, that you need when your kids are younger, or that you need to have money for when your kids are younger. So I thought that was eye opening for me, because I think for a long time I was in a huge panic of like, we're going to need all
Oh
this money
yeah,
every
all those
month.
expenses. Yeah,
But,
yeah. And I mean, there's 100% chance that you're going to retire, and there's what is it? I think it's less than 50% of people graduate from college now, and it's just.
well,
But also, they have their. I mean, you hate to do student loans, but your
oh, for
retirement's more
sure
important than
though.
their college, right?
Yeah,
In those situations.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank God for student loans and all of that. And in Michigan, our governor set up a program. I think I forgot what it's called, but all community colleges is free. 2 years. The first 2 years of
Oh.
college is free. Isn't that amazing? And then you transfer over to university. So, I mean, that I think helps so many people. And I think it's in a few states. I think there's like 7 states that have this, but it's
Yeah.
pretty cool. I mean, talk about an incentive for kids to go to college, Okay. So I know we just kind of talked about this, but this is one of my questions. So, how do you help women who feel intimidated by investing get their first dollar in the market? So, do you say to them, okay, so this is, I know you and I talked about this before
Mhm.
the podcast, but as far as like, do people come to you and do they say, where do I start? What should I invest in? I mean, do you help with that? I mean, what would you tell them when they say, I don't know where to start? I don't even know how to, what do I invest in?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're
I mean,
absolutely right. Because it was funny. I didn't realize that it was daunting to just tell people to invest like $100 a month. So someone that doesn't know even what type of an account to open, where to
right.
open it, what to invest in. And I really had to put myself back in that place because I was realizing that even people that were honestly my age or older, that's not great advice because
Right. You have to start at
yes,
the
you have to
very
break it
beginning.
down
Yeah.
step by step by
Open
step.
this
Like this
account.
is it.
Start there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are the type of
Hmm.
accounts, and these are where you can open them. So I can definitely help people if they want to do some do-it-yourself investing, which I
Yeah.
think is really helpful no matter what. Even if they do go on to hire a financial advisor,
Yeah.
just that experience where they're investing some of their money
Yes.
themselves is so powerful. And like I said, it's a huge mindset shift because it's easy to hand your money over to someone else and they'll do it, but you
Right.
don't really learn as much from it,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
And even if you are going to hire someone for assistance later, you kind of getting in there where you know how to log into the account, you know what type
Yes.
of account you have, you pick where you open up this brokerage account, you can pick between different options. So I realized, yeah, you're right. You have to break it down step by step by step.
Yeah.
And helping people invest like even their first $100. How do you automate that investing? What would you pick? How do you read a prospectus? How do you look up these options that you're investing into? The different stock symbols. How do you go read that information and all that?
Yeah. That's
So
that's
yeah,
cool. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And that's true because I mean I know we've got investments as well, so that's been interesting. But I'll have you know, the person who taught me about investing was actually my mother.
Really? How?
Yeah, yeah. Well, my dad died, a long time ago, and
Oh,
so um, he and I never had a chance to really talk about investing. So when I was at that point, and my mom would always call it playing the stock market. I mean, she she did
okay.
day trading, but then she also had her long-term investments. So when it came time for that, I would ask her, what should I invest in? What should I? And so she was the one who gave me a lot of good advice about that. So which surprised a lot of my friends and everything,
How cool.
because
Yeah, that's
like you
rare to
said,
learn
they're
that
used
from
to
your own
hearing it from
mother.
men. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
that's
yeah, so
neat.
she was, and she did great in the stock market, and so she knew what she loved it, and some women just love it, and she just loved it. And actually, after my dad died, studying all of that and learning all of that, I mean, she already knew it, but just diving into it,
Yeah.
um, took up a lot of her time, which I think, she needed and loved after he passed. So, anyways, I just thought I'd mention that.
Oh,
So,
that's really cool.
yeah. So I know we talked about certain, budgeting tools. Is there one in particular that you recommend for women, or you like the Monarch or the Every Dollar? Those are your
Oh, well,
two
I'll
favorites.
just name some different options because, like I said, you got to find what works for you best. So
Yeah,
it's not there's like one size fits all.
yeah,
Because for a time, I didn't really like the automation and the categorizing. But now that I've budgeted for so long, now I love it. I can do it. I'm comfortable with that. And some people hate all that. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's different. There's YNAB, so that's a very popular one. YNAB. You need a budget. A lot of people have heard of that one. The huge advantage of that one is it links up to your bank account and it also kind of budget by your bank account balance. Because some of these other ones, it's totally separate and independent of your bank account balance, and you're going to be checking back and forth. So
Yeah.
it's pros and cons. Like I actually don't really always look at the bank account balance when I'm budgeting, but for people that are beginning to
Yeah.
budget, that might make them nervous, like to not be checking it, see what
Right.
their
I don't want to
balance
look
is
at
on their
that.
bank
Yeah.
account. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So YNAB is a very popular, it's a steep learning curve though, but people who actually learn it really, really love it. So,
Oh, okay.
and It's less than $100 a year. They're all not terribly expensive.
Oh, that's good. And it's a
Yeah,
great investment. It's an investment in yourself. So
yeah, and you
yeah.
have to think about it. These companies, they have the connectivity to all the financial institutions. So I don't think that's free. And you want it to have secure connections and to not be selling your data and not be
Right.
constantly bombarding you with ads. So
Yeah.
to
Yeah. Yeah.
pay a
Yeah.
small
Yeah.
price to not have that and they're not selling your data or sharing your financial information. Monarch is the one I talked about. It
Mhm.
provides this dashboard view. There's an app, there's a software online. Copilot is another one I've heard a lot of good things about. I'm just not an iPhone user. You have to have iPhone. I think
I
in the
don't. I'm
future.
Samsung or
Okay, you're
Android.
Samsung like
Yeah.
me? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, then I can, yeah, you can relate to me. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
have
For sure. For
iPhone.
sure.
Okay, and then
Okay.
every
Yep.
dollar is made by Ramsey Solutions. There's a free version, a
Oh,
premium
okay.
version.
So
So
that's
yeah,
by
if you
Dave
want to
Ramsey and
try
his
out a
company.
digital
Okay.
app, because same like you, I tried tracking on paper on Yellow Pad. There's nothing wrong with doing that. The tracking gets very unwieldy after time.
Right.
Yes.
Right. 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 Okay, so I want to go back if I can.
Yeah.
I want to jump back because then I wanted to ask you something else. But anyways, so I mean, as like some quick tips, what are three things you would tell a person in their 20s to do right now if they want, to get into a habit of doing for, retirement or
Oh,
financial
okay.
success later on? Because I want to do 20s, 30s. I want to just do like three, if somebody's starting at the beginning,
Okay.
um, what would you recommend? Just three things.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so 20s, if they're working and they're earning some type of income, open up a Roth IRA
Okay.
ASAP. Yeah, open up a Roth IRA, investigate the yearly limits and put in as much as you can.
Okay.
Right. Start that and start a habit. So if you can't do the maximum, then do 100, do 200 a month, but make sure you have it automated where you're automatically investing into a Roth IRA.
Yeah.
If they're working at a company that has an employee sponsored plan, make sure they're reading into it, they're understanding it. Hopefully they're investing into it. They understand what is their company match. They're learning all they can about how they can invest through their employer and getting the match at the very least, right? So there's
Okay.
like
And what if
amount.
they're self-employed?
Oh, to open up that solo 401k.
Okay.
Yeah, if I mean, assuming they're earning a good income off
Hmm.
that, or do the Roth option, open up Roth IRA.
And even if you can only do $100 a month.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And Roth IRA, anybody can do it as long as you're earning an income. So whether
Okay.
you're self-employed or not, that tax-free money growing, because it grows tax-free, you get to pull it out tax-free. I hopefully it's growing to millions of dollars and imagine all that money tax-free when they're retirement age,
I
50,
love
59.
that.
Yeah,
Love, love.
yeah.
Okay. So you've been working a little while. Now you're in your 30s. What would you recommend three things for someone in their 30s?
Oh, okay. Similar things. I mean, definitely, hopefully they are well on the journey of
Yeah.
investing in a Roth IRA. If they're not, like open one ASAP and start figuring it out. Because some people, unfortunately, and I fell into the same thing too. When you're young and you feel like you have all these expenses and bills and you're adulting for the first time in your life, you're like, I don't have money for
Totally.
that.
That was me. That was me. I was like, I don't have money for this. I was living alone and yeah,
Yeah, and
it
it
was
felt
hard.
daunting. It felt daunting even when people were like, just do 100 or 200. But think about it. If you didn't go out to eat dinner 2 or 3 times a month, that's probably $100, $200 right there.
Right. That's
Or,
true. I should have
or
told my my younger self. And Erin, instead of going to the bar 3 nights a week, no.
yeah, so it's
Right.
delaying that gratification. Definitely 30s, I think, is the
Yeah.
decade where most people experience the most exponential growth in their
I was just
career.
gonna say yes.
Right? So their career should hopefully be on fire. They should have some clarity in what they're doing. They should be niching down. They should be negotiating their salary as best as they can, making strategic career moves where I'm going to be honest, I don't think loyalty is rewarded that much anymore. So not moving all the time just to move, but strategically to improve their career. So they're learning more skills. They're hopefully being highly compensated for their skill set. They're narrowing down on what they really want to do in their career.
Yes.
And so I think that's a huge career building decade of people's lives. Also, this is when a lot of people buy their first home.
Right.
30s, they're having kids, they're
That's
starting
true.
to buy their first home, and I am very pro home ownership as long as you do it a smart way. I do think the earlier people get into buying their first home, the better. As long as the numbers work and they're going to stay in the same area for at least 3 to 5 years, with it, they can make their money back and all that. But looking into home ownership, career growth, and then open that Roth IRA ASAP if they.
And what
have
about
not.
starting investments? What about, learning about investments?
So they should still be investing through their company 401k if they have availability to that, or 403b, employee-sponsored retirement plan, right? That's the number one way most people, assuming like this audience is mostly employees, they're investing. But if they're not, then they do the self-employed retirement options, and then if they have any money left over outside of that, they could be doing, the HSA. That's a great place also to invest. It's also saving up for their medical expenses, a taxable brokerage. Hopefully, maybe they could be getting to that. But I'm going to admit, I didn't get to that till I was like in my 40s. So I don't know if it's realistic in 30s, but
Yeah. Okay, so 40s.
Yeah, so hopefully they've been investing in their Roth IRA. If they haven't, I would they still got 20 years of growth.
Solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, what would you recommend for them as well?
The solo 401k, the Roth option for self-employed people. Hopefully this is the decade where you can like supersize your investments. You could be opening up that taxable brokerage outside of anything and everything. That's where you should be throwing extra money that you could be investing in. I also talk about building a bridge account. And this is for people that maybe are debating early retirement, maybe leaving corporate America, maybe they want to start their own business. So this is money I talk about outside of your emergency fund, outside of like saving for a vacation or building a deck or something like that. This is more like where you can kind of dream. And I shouldn't say bridge fund is necessarily you're going to retire. But this is the decade where a lot of people dream of, they want to leave their corporate jobs and they want to start that business. And how can they fund it on the side? Hopefully as debt-free as they can. So starting that type of fund, and if it can sit there for 5 years or longer, why not invest it? So invest that. And hopefully they're still on that investing journey. If they're getting kids off to college, but they've got about still good 20, 25 years, it depends, until retirement. So they still have got a lot of time where they can invest their money.
Okay. Yeah. And then, in the 50s, same thing, just rolling along. And again, okay, so if somebody's in their, let's say, mid 40s, what would you recommend that they do if they're like, now's the time when I can finally start investing or start saving? I mean, what would you have them do first? The mutual fund or I'm thinking especially like of a solopreneur or like an entrepreneur, somebody who hasn't been with, or maybe I don't know. I'm just trying to think of different scenarios. Different friends or different customers. I have clients I've talked to, their scenarios.
That's my age group right now. I'm in my mid 40s right now.
There you go.
And some people, they feel behind. And one thing I do see people falling into sometimes is when they feel they're behind, they want to do this ultra risky, almost scammy type of stuff. And I tell people, like, it sounds too good to be true. It's usually too good to be true. I'll give you an example. I had a friend the other day that talked about some friend told her that she could invest in this thing and make 100% of her money back in a year. Right. And yeah, see, already like you're like looking at it like,
All
huh?
of these like all of these things that promise, like stuff like that always makes me nervous, when you hear
Yes,
like,
and it's almost like gambling at that point. And I was telling
yes,
her, just like think about it even logically. If there was some investment out there making 100% of your money back in 1 year, don't you think we'd all know about it? Don't you think Warren
we'd
Buffett,
all be
like,
doing it. Yeah,
yeah,
right?
we'd all, it would be everywhere. So I was just telling her, I wasn't telling her not to do it, but I was telling her to read into this and make sure you understand the returns and what you have to put in and the fees and all that. And I think when people think they're behind, they tend to get lured in by that stuff because they're like,
Right.
well,
Yeah, it
I'm going to
makes
do the ultra
sense.
risky
Hmm.
stuff.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
still, the good tried and true index funds, mutual funds, that type of investing, good growth stock funds, if you have that runway where you can leave it invested 10, 15, 20, 25 years, you still have some time where you can do stock market things and
Yeah.
invest in equities and all that. It doesn't have to all be bonds and super stable things. But
Yeah.
yeah, it depends on your runway and how long you can leave it invested. But yeah, I notice when people feel like they're running out of time, that's when they're drawn to the
Yeah.
multiply your money,
Yeah.
4 times. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just to be careful and to read into all that stuff. And when it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. But no, they just have a shorter timeline, but they can still do similar things as other people can. They may not be able to take on as much risk, but equities, even over a 10-year time frame, they'd still make money on that.
Yeah. Okay. So, Summer had asked a question, which I think is a great question. It's a challenge. So, what about someone, let's say, who's in their 40s or 50s, who has a health or a child crisis that changes their finance for a few years? Um, have you ever worked with somebody recovering from something like that financially?
Oh, where there's just a time where they had to divert a lot of money to something
Yeah, or a
else
health
for
crisis, or maybe they were sick or their child was sick, and suddenly they have to divert a lot of money into something else.
yeah, yeah. This is another option I think people might look into when they're in their 40s or 50s, which I know it
Yeah.
sounds unpopular. Um, like in that situation where it's not just the money, where they need some time off too, maybe
Yeah.
reevaluating how much they truly need to make. Like, I think everyone assumes that they always have to be on this upward trajectory and making more, but that's
Right.
lifestyle inflation, right? That's where you think you need to make 200K. But if you actually really reevaluate your finances, what if you could make 100K for 3 years? But let's say you had a better work-life balance. Let's
Yeah.
say you were able to take more time off. Let's
Yeah.
say you're able to
True.
move
Yeah.
into a part-time role,
Hmm.
or something where you could withstand a pay cut. So I will say, like, number one, I would love to look into that situation where could they withstand a pay cut? Because I
Right.
think a lot of people, when they don't know their spending, they assume they need that. But if there's a way where we can control their spending, and maybe it's for a season of time, like we're talking about, for 3 to 5
Yeah.
years, could you not have all these memberships, or could your kid maybe not go to private school?
Hmm.
And what's the trade-offs? And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that would be one really viable option, because if you think about it, in that decade of people's careers, they tend to be making a lot, and especially for women, that's when we peak out, like in their 40s,
Yeah.
and then 50s kind of start going down or on this plateau. So looking at maybe you could make less and maybe a different role or type of job. I just took a sabbatical for 5 months. I know not everybody can do that. I wish more companies could offer more time off, where, like, in that type of situation, the time off would probably be more valuable than anything else, right?
Yeah. I saw you put a post on LinkedIn about that. How was your
Yeah, yeah. And I was able to
sabbatical?
take
Good for
5 months
you.
off without pay. And
Yeah.
that's also why I have a big message of building up this financial security, because someone in that type of situation, imagine if they could take 6 months off, what a game
Right.
changer that would be.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
is that's I mean,
And they
that
could
would
be around
be
their kid. Actually, I have a friend I met from LinkedIn. She was on my podcast not too long ago, but she talked about how it was really eye opening, some of the posts I was writing and all that, and it kind of inspired her to quit her job. And it was around the time her sister was the final stage of a cancer diagnosis, and
ah,
her sister, it's a younger sister too. Her younger sister died
ah,
in her 40s and has two kids, and
horrible.
yeah, and she was able to do some remote towards the end, but she ended up quitting because it's just she needs this better life balance. Now
Ah,
she's got niece and nephew that, that doesn't have a mom and all that. But she's
oh
able to
my
spend more time
gosh.
there. Yeah,
How
yeah.
hard.
Yeah, so those like type of decisions. So that's the first thing I would evaluate the spending and the finances. If maybe they could take a pay cut.
Okay.
Definitely, I'm
Yeah.
all for doing a strategic pause, even though it's probably not ideal at that decade of life where they don't have as much time for the money to compound. To strategically pause and it's kind of like crisis or storm mode, where you're gonna have to divert a
Yeah.
lot of financial resources to this ongoing your ongoing situation. Because it's one thing where you're doing this long-term investing for retirement, but you can't do that when you're not good in the now, right? And
Right. Exactly. When
yes,
your
yeah,
mind is on your kid or your own health, you just trying to survive day to day.
yes. So
You're not
definitely
thinking about,
it's worth
yeah.
taking a strategic pause on the investment and the finances. And yeah, looking into any relief or options. I mean, people are surprised sometimes when you're in bad financial situations, the people that you can call like your creditors and maybe
Yeah.
get some. It's funny as how some people are very proud. I actually had someone that I was working with, and her husband got laid off. She got laid off. It was like
Oh no.
right within the same time frame. So I said,
Yeah.
why not call your mortgage provider and tell
Yeah.
them this? Because she
Yeah.
had a pretty large mortgage payment. And she's like, no, no, we can make the payment. And I'm like, no, but it's so much of your money. And what if for this time period, if they could give you some relief for a tiny bit on the mortgage payment, even if it was just a discount, right?
Yeah.
For six
Yeah.
months or 3 months
Yeah.
or something like that. And a lot of people don't think about those types of situations, calling the credit card companies.
That's
And
true.
they're
Yep.
5-10 minute phone calls, and people might be embarrassed. There's no shame in just saying, oh, right now we're dealing with something. Could you, stop the
Yeah.
interest payments? Could I get a
Yeah.
discount on the
That's
payments? Could
great
you?
advice.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I don't know if people realize that you can do that and they will work with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody
Mhm.
wants you to be that in that financial stress or
Right.
duress, and
Right.
they don't know
Right.
what's going on in your life. And like I said,
Right.
if they say no, they say no, right? But you never
Right.
know. If you call around some of your providers, if you could get some relief for some time, and why not? And like I said, it's a season of time. It's not to say this is your life forever, but it's
Yeah. And
a
that's a great
season.
reminder. This is a season. This is not your life. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, this has been exciting. Okay. So your career has been in STEM.
Yes.
And so you have a podcast, Engineer Her Path. So you get to kind of merge your engineering background with financial coaching and highlight stories of women in STEM. But you've also helped at least 50 women in STEM become millionaires.
Oh, that's my mission. I've not achieved that yet. I'm
Oh, oh,
getting there. I'm
oh.
getting there. That's my
I was
huge
like,
mission. That
girl, sign me
that
up.
I'm sure, like you as a business owner, you have to have that mission, and it
Yes,
has
that's
to be like
true.
a tangible
That's
mission that
oh,
keeps you
yeah.
going. Because there
That
are
vision
times
keeps
when
you
it's
motivated. Yeah.
discouraging. Yeah,
Yes.
there are times where you're
I
like,
love that.
"Why am I doing this? I'm talking to a void, and nobody's
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody's paying attention or listening." But
So
that
are
is my
women in
huge mission.
STEM? I mean, so STEM is still your passion. It could because it's where your background is.
Yes, it's the
Yeah.
people that I want to serve, and like I said, it's what's helped me build a lot of wealth. But as we're talking about, people can have chapters in life. It's so
Right. That's
interesting how
true.
people think everyone has to do one thing and one thing only, and that's another huge thing I love to talk about and mindset shift that I had. Because I feel like even women in STEM, you know how many people I talk to, they're like, I just want to build this children's gym, or I'm really into equine therapy, or there's so many
Cool.
interesting creative
Yeah.
pursuits and
Yeah. Yeah.
interests that people have, but because they've been so um, indoctrinated to working for a company for so long, they kind of squashed all those dreams and hopes, right? They kind of put it on the back burner to
Right,
work for
right, right.
someone
That's
else. And
true.
there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with
Yeah.
that. But then, when people are in their 40s and older, they're like, geez, I've worked for someone else for 2 decades or more. What happened to that thing I wanted to do, or that
Right.
passion I had, or that thing I
Right,
always
right,
do on the
right.
side?
Yeah.
So I think it's all together. People can explore different interests and facets of their personality and passions. And I always like to tell people, yeah, the financial coaching honestly is more of a passion business. It probably will not exceed the engineering income, but I get to do it because I built such a good financial foundation
Yeah.
through being W-2, working as an engineer. And it's also helped me build this community and help me figure out who I want to serve most.
I love that. So, but you'll work with women who aren't in STEM, correct?
Oh,
Like a lot of
absolutely.
our
Absolutely.
listeners. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent. So, to kind of wrap this up a little bit, if people want to get in touch with you, do you have any launches or anything? I know LinkedIn, Sandra Park. It's Sandra Park FS is a way
Yes.
do people find you on LinkedIn, and also your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I started getting into YouTube. I don't know if you're ever going to get into
I
YouTube.
do have a YouTube channel. Yeah.
Do
Mhm.
you? Okay, I gotta
Yeah.
go find yours and add it. So that is a newer journey, and I
Okay.
like YouTube because like how we're talking about, you can explain more the how of how to
Yeah.
do something. Because it's great
Oh,
to tell
great.
people
Yeah.
on LinkedIn, invest $100 a month. Some people have no idea what or how to do that or what that means.
And where to begin? Yeah. So your YouTube is Sandra Park FC,
Yes.
short for financial coach. So
Yeah,
Sandra
so
Park
that's more
FC.
my educational how-to
Yes.
type of videos.
Love that.
LinkedIn, of course, I don't have as much space all the time, and they're
Oh, on
more,
LinkedIn? Well,
yeah,
right. We're like, yeah, on
yes,
LinkedIn, you
that's
don't
what
get
people don't
to,
understand. It's like you
yeah,
can get a little nugget, a little inspiration.
yeah,
You don't have a whole lot of room to talk about the how or why and all that. So
yeah,
I'm very
yeah.
active on LinkedIn, but
And if they
I'm
want,
debating.
sorry,
Oh,
I was
go
going
ahead.
to say, if somebody wants to work with you as their coach, they get in touch with you through LinkedIn.
That's probably the best way.
Okay.
I have my website that I'm trying to relaunch. I'm working on my website again. It's engineerherpath.com. I offer one-on-one services, but as this new season is starting, I'm kind of debating different ways to work with people. So I don't know.
All
I'm not
right.
sure. I was thinking about doing maybe like I don't know, a 5-day challenge or something.
That's
So,
cool.
so
Yeah.
follow me. I don't want to say what I'm going to do
Yeah.
yet, but I'm thinking about different ways to work with people, different, more creative ways. And I
Hmm.
love just the community-based way of
Yeah.
working with people too. So I'm
Yeah.
also
Yeah. Yeah.
exploring that. Yeah.
That's exciting. Well, thank you so much. Before we end, we end every show with a fun, unrelated question. So, what is one thing that we wouldn't know about you? Maybe a hobby or an interest or passion, unrelated to work.
Oh, yeah. 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 Mine is when I want to de-stress and I don't want to think about anything, I watch some garbage reality television. Which I think a lot of people can relate to.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think my favorite series, and it's a total and utter time waster, is anything 90 Day Fiance. It's hilarious.
Really?
Yes.
I've never seen that. I saw the other one, like Married at First Sight.
Yes, I watch that too
That
sometimes.
was so stressful for me. I was just like, you don't know them. You don't know them. You're marrying them. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've never seen 90 Day Fiance, but I'm assuming it's pretty
It's kind of
similar.
like that, but compounded with financial issues, cultural issues, language issues,
All
different
right.
family of origin issues, just about anything you can think of. And of course, they play it up for the camera, so they're usually kind of dramatic,
Yeah.
toxic couples. But if you're ever sad about your life, go watch some of
Yeah,
that.
really. Just watch one of those episodes. I will have to check it out. I will.
Mhm.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us. I have learned so much today, and Summer will put all your links in the podcast. So anybody listening, the show notes, check them out because we'll have links to on how to reach Sandra. But thank you again for coming on and chatting with me.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. I will see you on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening to the Office Latte Podcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to your podcast. You can follow the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at Executive Resumes, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, Office Latte Podcast. If you have any career questions or conversations you want us to talk about, send them to officelattepodcast@gmail.com, and we'll answer them in an upcoming show. Have a great week and stay caffeinated.